When a true icon steps onto a late-night stage, the ritual is usually predictable. Applause rolls in, the host smiles wide, and the conversation floats comfortably between nostalgia and promotion. Legends are expected to be celebrated, teased lightly, then sent off with cheers. But on this particular night, something went wrong. What unfolded wasn't an interview. It was a quiet collision between legacy and mockery, dignity and cheap laughter. And at the center of it stood Sylvester Stallone. The studio was alive before the cameras even rolled. Warm amber lights reflected off polished floors, the audience buzzing with anticipation as the band wrapped up its familiar intro. The host emerged to roaring applause, relaxed and confident, feeding off the energy like fuel. He waved, joked with the crowd, and leaned into the comfort of routine. Everything was exactly how late-night television liked it: controlled, playful, safe. Then he announced his guest. The name alone shifted the room. Sylvester Stallone, a figure carved into the history of cinema. Not just an actor, but a symbol of grit, perseverance, and defiance against odds that crush most people long before they're noticed. As Stallone walked out, the audience rose instinctively. Applause wasn't prompted. It was earned. He moved with calm assurance, dressed sharply, no excess, no flash. His presence didn't demand attention. It commanded it. He waved politely, acknowledging the crowd, then took his seat. His expression was neutral, almost reserved, like a man who had learned long ago that silence often carries more weight than noise. The host leaned in immediately, smiling. Compliments were delivered, but they were padded with jokes about Stallone's voice, his physique, his age, his famous characters. The audience laughed on cue. It was familiar territory. Stallone chuckled softly, courteous, composed. But beneath the surface, something felt off. The jokes didn't stop. They escalated. The host leaned into caricature, treating Stallone less like a guest and more like a living punchline. Muscles became shorthand for simplicity. Action films were reduced to repetition. Decades of work compressed into a handful of stereotypes. The laughter continued, but it grew thinner each time, less enthusiastic, more uncertain. When the conversation turned to Stallone's latest project, the tone didn't improve. The host framed it dismissively. Another tough guy movie, another excuse to flex on screen. Stallone responded calmly, describing the story as one about reckoning, regret, and resilience. He spoke of characters shaped by pain, of narratives reflecting real struggles people face long after the credits roll. The host reacted with exaggerated amazement, twisting sincerity into sarcasm. He mocked the idea of depth, turning emotional substance into irony. The crowd laughed again, but now it sounded scattered, unsure. Stallone didn't match the sarcasm. His voice remained steady as he explained that strength on screen isn't about ego. It's about endurance, about showing what it takes to keep going when life pushes back. The words weren't loud, but they landed. The shift was subtle at first. A pause here. A silence there. The audience began to sense it. This wasn't playful banter anymore. This was something sharper. The host leaned further into mockery, name-dropping Stallone's most iconic characters as if they were interchangeable costumes. Rocky, Rambo. All the same, he implied. Stallone leaned back, unbothered outwardly, then spoke with quiet precision. He said comedy is strongest when it challenges those in power, not when it belittles effort. That line cut through the room. The host raised his eyebrows, surprised, and laughed it off, claiming it was all in good fun. Stallone nodded, acknowledging the statement, then replied, "That fun doesn't require disrespect." The audience shifted in their seats. The temperature in the room changed. Trying to regain control, the host rewound the conversation to Stallone's early days. He joked about the writing of Stallone's breakout script, implying it was rushed, simplistic, even crude. The joke hung in the air longer than expected. Stallone paused before answering. He spoke slowly, deliberately, describing a time when he had nothing. sleeping in public spaces, selling personal belongings, facing hunger that didn't wait politely for success. He explained that the script wasn't written from comfort. It was written from survival, from desperation, from the fear of disappearing unnoticed. The studio went silent. He added that creativity born from struggle carries a weight that comfort can't replicate, that it isn't about polish, it's about truth. When he finished, applause followed. Not explosive, but sincere, respectful. The host smiled tightly and tried to pivot, joking that Stallone should try stand-up comedy. Stallone responded evenly, suggesting that honesty might be a refreshing change for television. The audience gasped, then erupted. The balance had shifted. Now visibly unsettled, the host leaned into sarcasm, questioning Stallone's long list of sequels. He suggested repetition was safer than evolution. Stallone replied that telling stories people still connect with isn't fear, it's responsibility. He added that familiar jokes wear out faster than familiar heroes. The crowd roared, loud, unified. The host pushed again, asking whether Stallone feared becoming a joke himself. Stallone answered, "That happens only when someone insists on turning you into one." He reminded everyone that his most famous work wasn't just entertainment, it was hope for people who felt unseen. People who needed to believe effort mattered. Applause thundered. The host attempted to undercut it, pointing to Stallone's wealth, suggesting struggle no longer applied. Stallone's voice deepened as he explained that hardship doesn't expire with success. It leaves scars, and scars sharpen perception. For the first time, the host fell silent. Then he laughed awkwardly, throwing a dismissive comment toward the camera. Stallone responded with a line that separated performance from purpose. The audience exploded again. After the commercial break, the tone didn't reset. If anything, it hardened. The host resumed with jokes about age, legacy, and irrelevance disguised as nostalgia. Stallone listened patiently. When he spoke, he said it's better to be shaped by time than manufactured by trends. The crowd applauded immediately. The host joked about fans clinging to the underdog myth. Stallone replied simply that the underdog never leaves. He just learns. When asked why he wouldn't walk away, Stallone compared storytelling to duty, not ego. Inspiration, he said, doesn't have an expiration date. Each attempt to turn the moment into comedy bounced back heavier. Stallone suggested that maybe the discomfort wasn't about him. Maybe it was about seriousness still mattering in a world addicted to irony. The room went electric. The host claimed the real issue was people confusing Stallone with his characters. Stallone answered that those characters were reflections, not fantasies. Mirrors for millions. And mirrors, he added, make some people uncomfortable. Then came the final jab, a joke about aging, branding, and relevance. It landed weakly. The laughter was hesitant, fractured. Stallone stood. Not in anger. Not dramatically, just deliberately. He said there comes a moment when jokes stop being clever and start becoming empty noise. When treating everything as entertainment strips stories of their meaning. He thanked the audience, not the show, for listening. As he walked away, the applause rose. Not shocked, united, supportive. The host tried to recover with humor, but it rang hollow. Stallone paused at the edge of the stage and delivered one final line about fighting for meaning, not attention. Then he disappeared backstage. Cameras caught crew members clapping quietly. Some nodded. One whispered thanks. Online, clips spread instantly. Commentary exploded. Fans praised composure. Critics dissected intent. Quotes became captions. Memes turned into messages. What was meant to be another late-night appearance became something else entirely. Not a meltdown, not a scandal. A statement. Stallone didn't raise his voice. He raised the standard. It wasn't a walk-off. It was a line drawn.